Hey, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Just a Moment with Mila. I am your host, Jamila. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Today is Monday, May 15th, and I am back with another episode. So if you guys are ready to roll, let's roll. Okay, guys. So today I want to talk about healing. And I want to talk about it from the realm of heartbreak and trauma, or trauma that's caused, by heartbreak or, any kind of bad situation or relationship or whatever it is. I want to talk about healing from those things, right? Heartbreak and trauma, are two of the most difficult things that a person can experience, right? Whether it's the end of a relationship or the loss of a loved one, um, or just a traumatic experience in general, the pain that results from those experiences can be quite overwhelming, right? And they can be all consuming. Um, but you can heal from those situations. You can move forward from those situations. So, let's talk about some strategies and some techniques that you can use when you go on your healing journey. Now, let me just preface by saying that none of this is easy, right? None of this is easy. None of this will happen overnight. It takes practice. It takes time. You have to give yourself grace through all of this, right? But it's necessary in order for you to move forward and become whole, right? Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is just acknowledge your feelings. When you're on your healing journey, the first step is to acknowledge your feelings about the heartbreak or the trauma, or whatever it is that you're feeling. Acknowledge it and accept the fact that you feel that way. It's normal to feel feelings. It's normal to experience emotions. God gave you feelings. God gave you emotions. You should not feel shame to feel those things, right? You're human. It's okay to feel sadness. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel fear, right? Um, Rather than suppress or deny those emotions or act like they're not there, allow yourself to feel them fully, right? Don't stay there, but acknowledge the fact that you feel that way and allow yourself to feel your feelings fully, right? Um, if you have to cry, if you have to write it down in your journal, or if you have to seek, therapy, which we'll talk about in a minute, um, or talk to a friend, or, something like that, if you have to speak about it verbally, do whatever it is you have to do in order to acknowledge that you feel that way, right? Um, that opens the door to the work that comes after it, and but it opens the door for allowance to heal. I hope that makes sense. So that's the first part, right? Acknowledge your feelings. The second thing is you have to practice self-care. um Trauma and heartbreak, negative experiences, whatever it is you want to call it, can cause physical and emotional stress, right? It can take a toll on your health in totality, right? It can really put a strain on your well-being. So it's important to prioritize yourself and your self-care when you are on this healing journey. Um and self-care is personal. Whatever self-care looks like to you, it could be exercise, it could be meditation, it can be, spending time in nature, going to sleep, taking a bath, going to get your nails done, going to get your hair done, pampering yourself, taking yourself out to eat, whatever it is, however you choose to take care of yourself, reading a book, watching a movie, listening to music, whatever it looks like to you. Um, do those things. Prioritize your self-care for your own well-being, right? And it can kind of take the stress away from it can take away the stress of dealing with the heartbreak. It can make healing a little easier when you put yourself first in that way. Okay. So that's the second thing. The third thing is to seek support. Earlier we talked about, finding somebody to talk to, whether it's a therapist or a friend. Um Healing is not something that you have to do alone. It's not something that you have to do by yourself. Although it might feel that way, it might feel like whatever it is that you're going through or dealing with, that you are by yourself or that you are alone, but you don't have to be. You can seek support from friends or family if you trust them. Or you can find a therapist or a counselor if you trust them. Talking your feelings out with someone who cares, especially if it's somebody who doesn't necessarily know you and somebody who can be unbiased, um, they can help you see things that you might not otherwise see. They can help you gain perspective that you might not otherwise have. Um, but they'll make you feel supported. You know what I mean? It'll make you feel like you don't have to do this by yourself. Um, so if you're struggling in the realm of heartbreak and trauma, it might do you some good to find somebody to talk it out with, right? And again, make sure it's somebody that you trust, somebody that can be unbiased, right? So that's what the third thing. The fourth thing is, and there are five things. I forgot to mention that. So the fourth thing is to find distractions, right? Make yourself focus on something else for a minute. Um, it's important to allow yourself to feel how you feel, but it can also be just as important to take your mind off of it for a little while, right? And this kind of goes along with the self-care. If you find something to do, it will allow you to think about what caused the heartbreak or what caused the trauma. It can help you take your mind off of it. Because the more you think about it, the harder it's going to be to heal from that, right? So if you focus on something else, like a good book or a movie, or something else that you're doing creatively, or spending time with friends, traveling, driving, whatever it is, if you're able to focus your attention on something else, the less time you have to live in your feelings. I hope that makes sense, right? So and it can make you feel normal. It can make you feel like you again. The more you practice self-care and the more you distract yourself from what's wrong in your life or what's wrong in your world, the more you can feel like yourself again. Give yourself time to do that, but you got to do it, right? So that's the fourth thing. And the last thing, and this is probably the most difficult thing, is to forgive yourself, right? Um, it's important that you forgive yourself for whatever role you might have played in the heartbreak or trauma that you are experiencing, because in reality, you know, it's never just one person. Even if one person, did the bulk of the dirt or whatever it is, you still played a part, right? So you have to get to a point where you can forgive yourself. Um, Even if it's, a relationship that ended badly or an experience that you couldn't prevent. Um, a lot of times, especially when it's something that you couldn't prevent, a lot of times, I know this for myself, I tend to blame myself or I tend to take it personally, and think about, what I did wrong or what I could have done differently or whatever it is. So even in the case where you didn't necessarily do anything wrong or you didn't necessarily play a part in the heartbreak or the trauma, you can still feel guilt. You can still, be in a place of self-blame. And you have to get out of that by forgiving yourself. Um give yourself grace. Remember that you are a human being and that you did the best you could with what you had and with what you knew at the time, right? Um and so you have to forgive yourself, and also forgiving yourself will allow you to let go of the negative emotions and focus on your healing, right? So um forgiving yourself is very difficult, especially when you are someone who, often takes the blame or puts the blame on yourself, when things don't work out, when things don't go the way that you had hoped they would. You tend to, make it your fault even if it's not. So, do your best to work on self-forgiveness. So those are the 5 tips or techniques that I would suggest, when it comes to healing from, heartbreak or trauma or a bad experience or a negative experience. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I have a closing remark. All right, so sit tight. I'll be right back. I need you guys to do me a favor. I want to continue pushing content out for this podcast, and I want to grow this podcast. I want to grow the listenership for this podcast, and without your help, I can't do that. So I'm going to ask you guys to, if you would, please consider making a small donation to this channel. It would greatly help me grow. If you will, I would really appreciate it. There's so much in store, and I want to give the best content possible to everyone who listens and now and everyone who will listen in the future. So I'm gonna post a link to be able to for you guys to be able to make the donation in the listener notes, or in the show notes rather. So again, if you guys could consider making a donation, I would really appreciate it. All right, thank you so very much. Okay, guys. So I want to close by saying this, right? Healing from whatever the bad experience is, heartbreak, trauma, whatever it is a process that takes time, patience, and self-compassion. Be, kind to yourself, show yourself grace by acknowledging your emotions, so practicing self-care, seeking support, finding distractions, and forgiving yourself. You can begin the journey towards healing. Remember that it is okay to take your time in prioritizing your healing. It's probably, paramount that you take your time. Don't rush your healing by any stretch of the imagination, because you will probably not heal if you rush it, right? But take your time in prioritizing your healing, however that looks to you, right? You do deserve to heal. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to feel the way that want to feel. And the last thing that I'm going to say is this: healing does not mean that the issue won't hurt you again. It doesn't mean that you're never going to feel the effects of the heartbreak again. It doesn't mean that you're never going to feel the effects of the trauma again. Um, but what healing does mean, or what it will eventually mean once you go through the process, and it's an ongoing process, it never stops, right? What it does mean is that the hurt that the heartbreak or trauma or bad experience caused you won't control you again. Okay, so the point is not to let it uh the point is not to not feel it. The point is to not be controlled by how you feel. Don't let it control your actions or your behaviors. Don't take it out on other people, especially those who are just trying to be there for you. Don't let it control your life. That's going to be difficult, and again, it's a process, but it's necessary, right? So, just remember again, healing does not mean that the hurt that you won't feel the hurt again. It just means that eventually you won't let that hurt control you again. All right? All right. All right, guys. So that's it for this week. Thank you again so much for joining me today. Hopefully that was good for you. Share this with everybody, whether you think they need it or not. I would appreciate it very much. Um, and yeah, hopefully you guys had a wonderful Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. We celebrate you. We love you. We thank you for all that you are and all that you do. All right. So you guys have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful Monday. And I will see you guys back here next week. All right. Take care.